You're listening to By Accident, Choice, or Grace. I'm Sebastian White, founder of the Evolve Network. This is a space for thoughtful conversation, quiet disruption, and the kind of reflection that transforms. Together, we'll explore how the invisible shapes us, how we learn, grow, and heal, sometimes by accident, sometimes by choice, and sometimes by grace.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Sebastian White. I'm the founder and executive director of the Evolve Network, and welcome to By Accident, Choice, or Grace, Dialogues with the Evolve Network. I am so honored to have a really special guest with us today, Janelle St. Janelle St. leads Growing Home, Chicago's first and only USDA-certified organic farm with a social mission. Her work invites people to cultivate food and dignity simultaneously, offering structure, stability, and belonging through the soil. Janelle, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Sebastian.
So before we get started with my journey and my questions, I just wanted to make sure I gave you a chance to plug everybody a plug into what Growing Home is and what you guys do.
Well, I always say Growing Home is the solution Inglewood came up with. Growing Home has been in Inglewood since 2000. As people talk about words like sourcing local and hyperlocal, Inglewood came up with that solution for its food insecurity. So Growing Home is in a unique space where we can address food access while providing workforce development and job placement. So we get to address two major issues facing our community in Inglewood.
It's a beautiful thing, for sure, and how those things tie together. Can you tell just a couple of success stories from folks that are going through you guys' programs?
So, I always hesitate with success story. I have this thing where I didn't coin the word pimping poverty. So what I like to tell is the success story of Inglewood again.
Yeah.
This was Inglewood's solution. Like, people know how to solve their community issues. They're just looking for investment from outsiders to make it happen. And for me, success is simply this: seeing someone get married and grow their family success. We've had great successes where people have started their own businesses, like their construction business. Seeing somebody not go back into the system. Seeing somebody cook something for the first time for Thanksgiving and come and tell me it was a hit.
Yep.
Those are some of the success stories we face every day.
I'm so happy that you framed it that way, because it is those little things that we miss, and those things are obviously and usually the ones that are most important.
Yep.
So for, I don't know, a couple years now, I've had this question. I'm going to start by asking it this way. So culturally relevant food is a phrase that gets used a lot. When you hear it, what does it actually mean to you? Is it about the ingredients? Is it about memory, or is it something deeper?
I love this question because I tackle it all the time. When I hear culturally relevant food, I hear, what can you make at home that grandma made? Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean that's the only food you know or like or aware of. This is Chicago. We have a very diverse palate. When I hear culturally relevant food, sometimes I hear deficits. And I don't like that term. I often say, whether you're Asian, from the different diaspora, there are things you cook every day. Those are culturally relevant food. If you're from the South, there are things grandma taught you. If you're from the Caribbean, right? But it's the things you grew up with, not necessarily a deficit. And when I hear culturally relevant food for places like, for Inglewood, I hear we lacking something.
Yeah.
We eat everything. We got Chinese food, we got Italian food. But cultural relevant is what the grandma made that she taught me.
Got you. I'm happy that you framed it that way for me, because I do think it is like accessing history, which we'll lean into more and how we get into this. Do you ever worry that when we label something as culturally relevant, we risk creating a box? I am big on this proponent about boxes because they are comfort. They are a safe space. They give us predictability, some sense of certainty. However, we don't grow.
Well, that's what I said. That's why I started. Like, cultural relevant people create boxes. Like, we don't eat anything else.
Yeah.
This is Chicago. If one thing I could say about the Black and brown community, ain't nobody else in the Black community, including myself, like me some Mexican food. Taco Tuesday,
Yes.
Pizza Friday, And I think sometimes when we talk about cultural relevant food, people assume that somehow that's all we eat. And again, for me, the only boxes is whatever grandma taught you.
Yeah.
It's the thing you're going to go home and cook. And this is why growing home is so important, that when we grow food in Inglewood, and we distribute food in Inglewood, we're thinking about what are they going to go home and cook. Not necessarily the only thing that they eat.
Yeah.
What is that thing that you're going to throw on really quick that is muscle memory,
Yeah.
right? That to me is culturally relevant food, but it's not a deficit. It's just food that you know.
Yeah. I think for me, my concern or what I struggle with is this idea of, does that limit our growth in terms of what we're willing else to try? If we stick with what we know, I get what you're saying specifically in terms of like the real life situations. I need to be able to go, I got to get this done in 15 minutes because it's been a long day and I need to get my kids fed, so forth and so on. I hear that. But I often hear that people struggle being able to even distribute other produce because it's foreign to the folks that are trying to use it. Being able to take those risks and being open to expanding possibility. Food. So
I think my concern with that is that people think people should just take whatever they can get.
got it. Yes.
Right? And so as we talk about SNAP and people wanting to do something and people want to go buy things and donate, you're buying your own experience.
Yes.
Right? You're not taking into consideration other people's experience. This is why I urge people to give money, let the community decide what those priority foods are. Because in times like these, it ain't the fun stuff we're trying to do. We're just trying to make it, right? So I think that's very important. But it's okay to introduce new food. Like one of the things Growing Home does is we always say 80% what you don't know, 20% what you 80% what you know, 20% what you don't know. And guess what? We provide taste. So you're going to have samples. We're going to add, like kale in Inglewood. Like, I think Inglewood probably knows more about dino kale than most people, And that came with education and opening up. They could probably cook it like any other greens that they grew up with. But you have to do it with taste, right? Like I would say, eating healthy tasted good, we all probably would do it more, right? And that's where that cultural relevance comes in, our cultural competence. Taste is cultural.
Yeah.
So don't just drop it off and say, hey, good luck with this.
Yeah.
You got to make it and convince people to try it in a way that they're used to trying other foods.
Have you seen when people try it in a way that is familiar, how that expands in terms of how they will like to use it later on or moving forward?
Absolutely. They get excited with that new thing. So first of all, they got to try something that they otherwise had never seen before. And then they get to go home and play with it, right? Like Silicandra does her samples and they're like, you did a whole dish with no meat. Now, I'm going to be honest. When she introduced me to the radish sandwich, even to this day, half my mouth always goes up, right? Like, But then with taste, she's even convinced me to try new things, for me to expand my palates. And I think we as a whole, as a community, we lack a diverse diet in most cases. And so Growing Home and chefs allow us to expand that. And I think there's nothing more beautiful than trying new things.
Yes. Love it. I couldn't have said it better myself personally. I think you've already kind of answered this question in terms of balancing, honoring where you come from in relation to being open to other possibilities. How do you think we can best establish trust in terms of something new? I think it comes back down to taste. That's been my experience, particularly with the kids that we work with. If it tastes good, they'll lean into this, lean into something different.
Taste is so important. Like, I go to these trade shows, and they talk about healthy foods that they introduce into markets. And I always say, I never see my people show up in those marketing, because that ain't something we're going to eat.
Yeah.
Right. And then don't blame us for not eating it when you didn't even take into consideration that taste factor that's cultural. And that doesn't mean that we use more salt. There's ways to make it
100%.
healthy and yet still tastes good. Like, so I think it's just super important to include both, right? To do that balancing act. Looks, you're foodie, so you gotta look good, right? Gotta look good. But ultimately, gotta taste good. And
There it
trust me,
is.
people will try it.
Yeah. Kids always tell me, why you spend so much time like trying to make it look pretty? Because you deserve that experience. But at the same time, if it's not backed by flavor, it don't matter.
It don't matter. We ain't gonna try it.
Do you think that that type of trust expands beyond just food?
Oh, absolutely. I think the trust factor is one, showing up with something new and saying, hey, I want your twist on it. Not showing up with something new and say, well, why don't you just want it? Like you should want it because I gave it to you. That arrogance does not build trust, right? And so by showing up different, but yet still willing to be influenced, builds trust across the board. This is sort of unrelated, but I always say, even with racism, how it's such a construct in so many ways. I'm not gonna name the person, but we have a cafe in Inglewood, and if you ask the average kid, "Hey, you know that white guy they're gonna be like, "What white guy?" And you're gonna be like, "Yeah, the white guy," and they're gonna like, "You mean?" you know what I'm saying, right?
Yes.
It's about coming into a community and building trust where people don't even see the difference anymore. Like, and I always love to see that happen where they're like, you ain't talking about, but has his race changed?
Yep.
But he's built that trust, even with the kids, by coming into their space, recognizing it's their space, it's their community, and bringing you, but also embracing what he already saw there.
Yeah, I like the mutual experience of that.
Yeah.
Because it is mutual. It's not just earning the trust from people, but you got to learn to trust in them.
Exactly.
That's how relationships go. So that's beautifully put. Can you think of a food moment or a story that disrupted your own sense of cultural identity? Something that expanded your idea of home?
So this one is kind of funny. I'm from Trinidad and Tobago. For those of you who don't know, it's in the south of America. It's the last Caribbean island. We're 50% Indian, 50% African. I grew up with curry. When I came to this country, everyone thought I knew how to make jerk. I had never tasted jerk before. I had never seen jerk. Now, of course, we all jerk in Trinidad now. But that was where people put an identity on me because I had an accent and I was black. So there was always this assumption that I knew how to, oh, your mom could make jerk. I said, no, if you want to curry some goat now or curry some chicken, I got you. But I have no clue what you're talking about when it came to jerk chicken. But it's an identity that was put on me. And so sometimes when I would try to defend that point, it's all the same.
Yeah.
It's not all the same.
Not 100%. Right.
But thanks to coming to this country, I always say I'm a happy jerk chicken on Saturdays, jerk Saturday. Trinidad now jerks pork and everything else. Like we jerk everything now. But to see how America does, and Chicago particularly, introduces so much that it becomes part of your identity too. And so I'm not just the girl from Trinidad and Tobago who knows how to curry. I could rock some jerk now. Okay, so I'm gonna embrace that one right now. And so it also is an example of people forcing identities on you because of perception, even in your food.
It's crazy that you say that because I've been on this tangent now about us, how simple we want the world to be. Just to put people in a category, in a box, and limit everything that they are to that box versus seeing the very particular uniqueness of each. And it shows up in food, it shows up in how we show up as people and what people put on you. I think you suggested that you wanted to defend. What did that defense look like for you? Like, how were you defending? And I mean that in a way to understand, so people understand that your perspective in terms of how you felt being labeled in that way.
Well, one, get all political here. There's a concept of what black look like, right? Yeah. Now, thanks to social media, everybody knows there's a huge diaspora. It's very diverse, right? And Africa is a continent, and food is very diverse within that and even the Caribbean, it's very diverse. So when I say I had to defend it because nobody wanted to hear the explanation. It's like, oh, it's all the same. And it's like, but I don't know how to jerk.
Yeah.
Right? Like
I just don't know how to do it.
I don't.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've had it.
Yeah.
I always wonder how my Indian counterparts deal with it because Chicago is very segregated. You have to belong in a box.
Yeah.
And I always think about actually we're half Indian, half African. So the Indian population, you have to go to where all the Indians live and they sound like me. They're Afro Indian. Yeah. People aren't used to this meshy thing we call Trinidad and Tobago. And so you come to America, especially Chicago, and you even in your food, you have to belong in a box to your thing. And so that's the part you always have to fight. And sometimes it's a hard fight because people aren't willing to listen or even consider that maybe you don't fit that stereotype.
Do you have ideas on how to disrupt that for folks?
No, I always say food is a good thing, right? I think thanks to social media and people are traveling way more. Even with the whole political climate, I would say I think what's beautiful is that people aren't feeling restricted anymore. Or not everyone. Like people know there's a world outside, right? Social media could show you carnival and roti and doubles from Trinidad, right? A few years ago, that would be hard to really experience that. Even though you're not tasting it, these roti shop on the south side. I hear she's moving even closer to the office, so thank you, these roti shop. Thanks to travel and social media, we're really more open to trying new things and to traveling, and I'm really happy to see that transition. So I don't think defending that we actually created the last instrument, the steel pan. I'm always bragging about Trinidad and Tobago, but there's so much about our identity as Black people or across the diaspora we need to be proud of, and food is one of it.
That box of Black gets so restricted, and I don't understand how diverse it is.
It is so diverse.
It's insane when you think about it.
It is crazy. This is one of the things I want to do next year for the farm. We have Thursday market. We have Third Thursday. Inglewood has a huge Hispanic or growing Hispanic population, but it's not just about that. I want to celebrate Reggae Tuesday. Let's have some Jamaican food. Let's have some Caribbean food. Let's really introduce, and this is stuff we eat every day. Yeah. But I think as from the chef point of view, is to getting people to recognize they can try this at home too. Mm-hmm. And you don't just have to go and buy. Like the recipe is there, and you could go make your own brown chicken. You might make it with mushrooms, which I have tried. Usually we just brown it with sugar. But I learned you could brown chicken with mushrooms. So we're always learning, and that's the beauty about food and experiencing it and seeing somebody prepare it, like to have aha moments.
Yep.
I could have my same brown chicken, but with mushrooms versus bread and sugar.
I think food expands how you think.
Yeah.
I think it opens like creativity in ways that not many things can. And what's amazing about it is you have to live it in order to do it. It's not just an idea. You have to live it.
And it's beautiful.
It is. 100%. It for sure is.
And it tastes good. I mean, anything with taste, you could convince people, right? And I do believe that food is a connector. And it has been a connector. I don't care how different people are. When you could identify a food from a certain sector. This is why when they try to unwind the thing that makes us American, it's so hard, right? Because you're going to have to take a whole lot of stuff away.
It's fascinating, right?
Yeah, especially when it comes to food. Like, your food is so much a part of your identity, and you get to realize that it's not necessarily your food.
Yep. It would be interesting to see if we took away the different cultural aspects of what make the United States what it is, what would be left.
Rabbit food. No, that's why I'm coming from a perspective of an immigrant.
Yeah.
I absolutely love this country. Yeah. I absolutely love and defend the African American experience. And that's because I get to see it as an outsider looking in, and now someone who is still very different because you can never see you're fully assimilated into anything. And the food is part of it. At home we had a macaroni and cheese that's baked. I love it. I came here and got the mac and cheese here, and I gotta say, mac and cheese here wins. You know what I'm saying? There's stuff like sauce that I know in the South, they put it in the fridge and cut it. We just eat it as a sauce with the chicken foot and the cow heat. I'm just saying. Like, I get to experience food in such an amazing way and get to appreciate things that you may take for granted because it's always been here. Right? You look at the Mexican culture, because we also have a very Spanish culture, being from the coast of South America. How alike all of our foods are. Like, it's so fascinating to me. And I challenge people to, we have this thing we buy, is corned beef. It's in a can. You go in any Irish restaurant, you're going to get the corned beef sandwich. It ain't taste exactly like yours, but you see food is that bridge. And and you're like, how did they get that over here, but we all the way over here? That's the beauty about food.
Yeah.
How much alike we are than different.
If only people knew thought that way.
Yeah.
It's I had an experience where a lot of people think staying within your region, within your space, is what creates diversity. I think that that's in part true, but I also think that it's possible to see how the interconnectedness between them and how they can play together because of their concepts are so similar.
So similar.
How that creates this fusion that shows the beauty of us being connected. It translates in so many ways to how we are as beings. It's pretty special.
As human beings, we're so creative. I even tell people about the food you grow, right? Most of those aren't traditional indigenous food. Like, some human, i.e. us, tweaked it and created something else. Like, that's so fascinating about the human mind, right? Like, to be surprised that most of the stuff you eat today aren't natural.
So I want to finish this out with this last question. Both of our organizations use food as a pathway to belonging and transformation. How do you see food helping people see the human, not just the human they know?
The human, I think it's in the preparation, right? Every time you eat something, somebody prepared it. And sometimes you may want to reminisce about who that mother or that father or that person is, right? I think that helps you see the human part. Like, we have machines, I get that. But there's a human part in everything we do, especially in the preparation of food. There's a passion and a love and a history that happens every time somebody makes a new dough or something of that sort. And I think, we always say a prayer, don't quote me, where you thank God for the hands that prepared this, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're acknowledging the human behind it. It's just a little self-reflection on the human behind it. I think everybody should, when they say that prayer, really try to imagine what that hand looks like and who that hand belongs to. Because then you see the human part of even what you eat every day.
Yep. I think that, first of all, that was beautiful, really, and real. I do an icebreaker with kids where I'm asking them to listen to the other and not repeat what they said, but say what's of significance, so they can lean into that history, that story about what made that person who they are. And when I think about what you just said, I think about, wow, how that shows up every time I cook. There's some story, some experience, something that I'm trying to promote about myself, who I am through that story, and how connecting that can be.
You can't help
it. It's so
it.
special, yeah.
Food is amazing.
Yeah, it's so special. Well, first, I just want to thank you so much for joining me. This was incredible.
Thank you for having me.
This was special. This is special. She dropped a lot of wisdom, knowledge, and thought, and like, it's beautiful. It's just beautiful, and I think it's packaged in love. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you to all the foodies out there. Challenge yourself to try something new this week.
Yes, and when we're thinking about culturally relevant food, let's remind ourselves about the history of it. But it's not meant to box.
Not meant to box.
You've transitioned how I'm thinking about this. So thank you for that. That's
You are
meaningful.
welcome. Thank
And
you.
speaking through our past, it's be really amazing if you can introduce new things into what your past looks like and see what you could be. That's the story, and food helps you live that experience. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.